All right.
Okay, we just want to again welcome everybody to the Business Fundamental Friday webinar. And today's teaching moment is going to be taught by Kelly Frazier, and it's about how available are you to your clients and how to free up time for you. So Kelly, we're going to turn the time over to you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Well, first, I want to just welcome everybody again. I love and I look so forward to meeting with you guys every single Friday. You wouldn't believe how excited I get about it. So, today's teaching moment, like we said, it's definitely going to be talking about how available we are. And when we're in business, you have clients or customers, and they may be young adults, men, women, children, and in some cases, even pets, right? And if you have a business model that is a business to business model, then you're still going to have some availability that you need for your business and for your life in general. So, how do you connect in business? Well, it often means that you have to be available, you have to play at your top game, and you know that you want to succeed. So, how do you make time for your customers and clients? It does take energy. So, how much energy do you have during the day? You know how sometimes you go home at nighttime and you just feel exhausted, and you've got your kids still that you might need to bathe, or maybe you want to go outside and play a ball game with them, but you just feel so tired. Well, what do you need to do to keep yourself and your business sustainable? What's the best way to make time for your customers and clients? Well, this is how you keep your business sustainable, by making time for you. Now, this is really interesting because a lot of people would disagree with what I'm about to say. And that floors me because I can guarantee that until you learn to make time for yourself, that you're going to make yourself so available to others, you're going to feel drained. So, first of all, get outside. Get outside in nature. Being able to hang out with some friends. No, that's not Garrett and Scott. I know it looks like it, but it's not. I just wanted to just point out that, you could just take a friend and go do some fishing or some kayaking or canoeing. How amazing it is to be outside. Do what you love. If you had a hobby of painting and you're no longer doing it because you're too busy, well, maybe you need to schedule some time into your calendar to do that hobby again. Pick it back up. There's no reason why you can't, except you're not controlling the schedule. If you have kids, go play with your kids, go to their ball games. It's a really difficult thing to think about your kids growing up when you turn around and look and they were 7 and now they're 17 and you missed a lot of that upbringing. This is not to lay a guilt trip, but you have time right now to be able to go to their games. So do it. Take time for you. If you can imagine just sitting right there on the bench, what does it feel like to engage all of your senses? To be able to listen to the birds, to feed the ducks, feel the sun on your body. In order to have moments like these, you have to structure and protect your time. Now, some people might think that this is pretty selfish, but I say it's being smart. It's sustaining not just your business, but your life. It is not selfish to re energize, it is imperative to your everyday interaction. Well, you might say, but it's not easy. And that's true, it's not easy. But we all know that it is a choice to get re energized. So the question is, how available do you want to be? So if you think about it, you've got times where you need to schedule a calendar. Now, this just happens to be one of the months that I pulled out, and you can see that it looks pretty busy. It's probably not as busy as what my normal calendar might look like, but if you look at it, you just say, okay, Monday through Thursday, and this is what I do. I'm going to work my tail off. And actually, I do start Sunday evenings, to be quite honest. It's Sunday evenings till Thursday. I work so hard. Fridays are usually my time with my family. Now, you guys just happen to be part of my family now because I'm working sometimes on Fridays where I want to spend time with those people that I want to really make myself available to. These are the days that I contact my family, my extended family. These are the days that I work things in giving and in volunteering. I take my daughter out on weekends and we spend on the afternoons on Fridays so that we can spend that time together before the weekend gets there. So just really learning to appreciate, who you have in your life and starting with appreciating yourself. Productivity time is extremely important, and you know that that has to get on your calendar. Schedule it in. Every single time you have something coming up that needs some productive time, schedule it in and ask people not to bother you. Garrett, wasn't it Alex Mendocian that talked about wearing his cap? Was that Alex that talked about that? I
Yeah,
think
was
so. What he did was when he had productivity time, he actually put his baseball cap on and he told his little kids, he said, when you see daddy's baseball cap on, that means that I'm in productivity time for at least 50 minutes. He said, for that time when my cap is on, I don't want to be disturbed. Productivity time is vital in our businesses, and he wanted at least an hour every single day. And he showed his kids that that was the way he was not to be disturbed. So if you have an office in your home and you have children around you, well, it might be a good idea to get a productivity cap or something. And then, of course, you have other appointments that you have to make during the week, and you have appreciation time. Now, that's interesting. What's appreciation time? Well, if you have a staff or if you have anybody that you work with, customers, clients, that you haven't really spent some time during a week to think, okay, well, who do I really want to send a card to just to let them know that I appreciate about what I appreciate about them, just to be my customer? Well, this is a great time to just sit down, get a card out, do a letter or an email, and just let them know how much you appreciate them. You can even write that into your calendar. You're going to have staff meetings, of course, and it doesn't matter if you work for yourself or you work for someone else. If you have a staff, you definitely want to be sure that you're writing in your staff meeting times. Organizing. This is extremely important. You're going to have things that you have to be organized about. So make sure that you're scheduling that time as well. But the most important time is to schedule time for you. Here's an interesting concept. If you work 3 weeks out of the month really, really hard, take the fourth week off. It could be an R&R time to read a book. It could be there to just do that extra project that you didn't get done during the month because you were so busy, but no appointments with other people. Can you do that? No appointments with other people during that week. It's an interesting thought, but I can tell you a lot of businesses that fail because they don't take time for themselves. So, you make sure that your staff understands that during that final week, you're going to have things that you're working on, but you don't want to be meeting with other people. Okay, just take some you time. Otherwise, you can expect some burnout because that is what happens. Being available means structuring your success.
So
And you
that's
might.
where all my hair went.
and that's what you look like.
I think that's probably what
You're
a lot
golden.
of us look like when we first start out, especially. So,
Except me and Scott don't have any hair.
that is
We
true.
must have just gone through burnout.
That is true. So, guys, you don't want to look like Garrett or Scott. Just make sure that you understand that this does take practice. It truly does. But guess what? You are so worth it. So that is my information for this week, and I think it's extremely, extremely important. And next Friday, we are going to have on June 29th at 1 p.m. the topic of technology challenges and does everyone have them? And that's given by Garrett. And of course, there's the link for the Facebook group. Just go ahead and search Business Fundamental Fridays because we'd love to have everybody involved in the Facebook group.
Yeah, well, awesome job, Kelly. And I think through the question and answer, we should talk a little bit more about how you guys organize yourselves, how you guys stay sane with being business owners and entrepreneurs and moms and dads and whatever you are. And so let's get into the Q&A discussion. But first, before I do that, Tony Ramos said, when you were talking, Kelly, about the get outside, they said, get outside, just not at 1 p.m. today. I thought that was funny. So yeah, get outside after we're done.
Yeah, that's
Um, Caroline says, took me years to learn this, even after being hospitalized for exhaustion and stress. Wow,
mm,
interesting.
yeah.
So today's Q&A, everybody. Again, you can raise your hand. You can just make sure you have a mic. You can use the chat area So start bringing those questions in, or some tips that you guys have about being organized. The Q&A guidelines: introduce yourself, be specific, no selling, and keep it short. So, we've got a lot of you guys on here, so get those questions coming. We got Alejandro on, Barry, Bob, Candace, Caroline, Daryl, Jenny, James, Joel, Lewis, Margaret, Nikki, Rocky. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, guys, bring those questions. We're here to answer those questions. While we're waiting for some of those to come on, me and Scott, as most of you know, we're business partners, and we always try to find time for ourselves and for just to get away from the business. And you know, one thing that we like to do on Fridays every once in a while is we go and see a movie that we want to see that our wives won't go with. Usually an action-packed movie, right, Scott? And it's
Yep.
usually a movie that our wives don't want to go to, so we take a Friday, and after these BFF calls or webinars, we go and we go see a movie. And that's just something that we've done. We also, we try to go, and we work out every day, and so we give times for ourselves. And what's some other things we've done, Scott? We've
Well,
done
after we work
yeah.
out, we go on our power walks and just kind of think about what's going on that day, where we are as far as projects go, what we need to do that day, who we need to assign projects to. It just lets us step back from everything and kind of look from a higher view. And then we have our strategic planning meeting once a month.
Yeah, that's awesome. We usually go up to the ski resort that we live near, and it's just beautiful up there. We love doing that. So another thing we've done, I think we've done that surfing, right, Scott? This
Oh yeah,
there's this
yeah,
place there's this place by our office that has a surfing where you can surf. So it's like this water thing. I don't know how to explain it, but that was a
like
blast.
an
So we
indoor surfing.
yeah. So what Kelly taught today is so important, and having time for yourself, and me and Scott will do things. We'll take some time off. Like last week, I went up to our cabin and went on a three hour four-wheel ride drive up in the mountains in the canyon, and it was just awesome to get away. So what are some questions you guys have about being productive, taking time for yourself? Roshana says she's on the call. Thanks, Roshana. I hope that I'm saying your name right. Caroline says, if I was your wife, I'd want to see those movies. Well, awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, Sandra Vaughn says, I have a sign that says, I guess, enter at your own risk for my me time. Awesome. Yeah, that's hard to hear at my house when I'm at home working or doing something. I've got Gracie, who's my 4-year old, and Jack, is a little baby, and so Gracie just loves to be with me, and so I have to be very specific when I'm doing these calls or doing something that she's not to come in. So I guess I need a sign like Sandra.
Yeah.
Um, Bob says my to-do list seems to get bigger and bigger. I feel like I can't take time off or I'll get behind. Do you feel this way? How do you deal with it?
Oh, this is a great question. We were just talking to somebody. We went to lunch with one of our clients the other day, and we had this discussion. So, one thing that we've learned, Bob, is that it's easy to have too many things to do, too many projects on your plate, and you'll get overwhelmed and not do anything. And we met with this client, and they both were marketers high up in a bank in the Bank of Utah here in Utah, and they were telling us they broke off from the bank, and they went out on their own. They're starting their own business, and they were telling us all these things they were trying to do. And Garrett and I were just, I know he was thinking the same thing as me.
Yeah.
We were just thinking, holy crap, you've got so many projects on the table because you're so desperate to get something going that you're not going to get anything done. And so we actually told them that right at the lunch. And we're like, hey guys, you need to hear this because we went through this, and you're going to burn yourselves out, just like Kelly was talking about. you've got too many things going on and you're not going to get anything done.
Yep. And something, Bob, that we do, um, again, Scott talked about our power walks, and we have a bunch of whiteboards at the office and downtown, and we most every day, we are not perfect at it, but most every day we talk about, a good 3 to 5 things that we need to get done that day, whether it's talking with our programmers, working with our designers, talking with our customer support team, what projects we're working on, what are our main projects that we're working on, and then we come up with the priorities that need to get done that day, and we don't worry about all the other things. We just worry about that day, and we go and get those things done. And there's times where, Bob, we've felt like, man, are we getting behind? Next month actually, Scott's going to be gone most of the month. We're going to Kenya, which we'll be talking about here in a couple weeks, and hopefully getting you guys involved in that. We're going to Kenya, so we're going to be gone all of July. So I know Scott and I have both kind of felt, what if, are we going to really get behind in all the things that we want to do? But you know, really it comes down to focus on the now, focus on what you can get done today, and don't worry and don't get stressed about all the things that you got to do. Just focus on 3 things that you can get done today to move you closer to your goal, and that's really helped us. That's how we've kind of dealt with it. We write those things up on the board and we make sure we get those things done, and if we can't get one of them done, then it stays up on the board and we get it done the next day. So just and Bob, maybe you weren't here 2 weeks ago when I talked about micro decisions. Just making those micro decisions, make doing those little things instead of focusing on the big, huge thing. So hopefully that helps, Bob. Kelly, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think it's extremely valid, everything that you're saying. And, part of our discernment as we try to figure out what it is that we want to do and make our, 5 drives or the 3 most important things that you do during the day or whatever you want to call it, I think it's really interesting how we tend to allow ourselves to get so distracted that those things don't even get accomplished sometimes. So part of, really structuring your success is just that. You're structuring your success, not just your day. So, how successful do you want to be? Do you want to allow yourself to get distracted, or do you want to stay disciplined and really, really focus? And I think
Yeah.
it's a very important, part of our life on a daily basis, moment by moment sometimes.
Yeah, and Caroline had a tip for Bob to hire a virtual assistant. And that's a great tip. Hire a
Mhm.
virtual assistant that can help you with some of the projects and help you stay focused and help you with some of the mundane little things. Now, with that being said, not everybody has the money or is capable of doing that. She also says get focused on one project at a time. That's perfect. Thank you,
Mhm.
Hmm.
Caroline.
Yeah.
Um,
Margaret Reese
that's
was also from Syracuse, and she was saying, I'm a chief scientist at a small biotech company, and I'm starting an online tutoring course for college students taking anatomy and physiology. I agree. During my entire career, I have made a decision not to work weekends. I like gardening and digging in the dirt to plant flowers. I mean, absolutely. If you want your weekends to be yours, then protect that time. Here's a thought that popped into my head while I was reading this. Um, let's see, this was long before I ever became an entrepreneur. There was something that I did at nighttime that I felt because my sons were teenagers at the time and we really weren't spending a lot of quality family time together. We made a decision that every Wednesday night would be game night. And then we also made a decision that after 7:30 p.m., we were not to take any phone calls, whether it was from business or even friends, unless it was urgent. And I even left a message like that on our answering machine. So if a phone call came in, they would receive a message that said something like, thank you so much for calling. This is the Fraser home. We would love to talk with you, but at 7:30 p.m. we take no phone calls so that we can spend quality family time together. If this is an
yeah,
emergency, please dial right back. And it's interesting because we had so many people tell us how much they appreciated that and how much it reminded them to try and do the same thing with their own family. So,
yeah,
it's important.
and you saying that, Kelly, goes back to Bob. He wrote back. He says sometimes those distractions I can't control, so I spend time starting and stopping. He says thank you for all the advice. Well, Bob, what Kelly just taught you right there is perfect because she's saying, yeah, there are going to be distractions, but if you put parameters and you are bold and stern with those people that are um, making those distractions or those things. And if you are a little bit stronger, not saying you're not strong, but there's times where I have to get mad at Scott, and he has to get mad at me because we're letting distractions in. And so we've had to be stern with each other sometimes,
Yeah.
and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And so you might have to be a little bit more stern, and do something like Kelly just suggested in a different way maybe, and get those distractions out of the way.
I'm going to
There's
share.
sometimes where I get mad at Scott for reading all his emails, and then he'll get mad at me for looking at emails. Just little things like that, so that we can stay focused and get the things that are important done. Kelly?
Yeah. You would think those two were married, you guys. It's pretty funny. No.
Yeah.
No, one other thing that I'm going to share with you guys now. Now this is kind of a very, very private during a mastermind, but I'm not giving any names or anything like that. But I think this is a really important topic that we're discussing here. And so I really want to bring this home to you. One of the mastermind leaders that I was involved with, he had talked to somebody about creating a certain project, and she complained about having too many distractions. And he said, there is no excuse, and that's all you're giving me is excuses. And she said, but I'm really not. And you could tell that she was sort of on the verge of tears. And he said, look, he goes, I want to make this kind of fun for you at the same time. He said, how about if we do this? Do you think that you could get this X project, whatever it was, done in 30 days? And she goes, well, I could if I wasn't distracted. He said, okay, then 30 days. And in 30 days from now, if it's not done, this is what you're going to do. You will put up a video on YouTube of you dancing. And she was like, what? I can't do that. And he said, no, you will do it, because here's what's going to happen if you don't. I will no longer coach you. Whoa.
Mm.
I mean, that was pretty stern. But do you know what? That is exactly what it took for her to get that project done. So
Wow.
come up with something fun to do as a, I don't know what you call it, a consequence to not getting your project done if you get too distracted. And at the same time that you give yourself a fun consequence, there's also got to be a serious one as well. So you might want to try that too. And it's not just Bob, because I can guarantee that just about everybody on this call deals with it at one time or another,
Oh,
including us.
yes. Yeah, distractions are always going to be there. Joel McClish says, Garrett, does having a business partner make a difference in your productivity? Yes, but it has to be the right business partner.
Hmm.
Um, Scott's my best friend, and he's an amazing business partner. We think alike. We have the same goals. We have the same values. We want to be outstanding. That's our, Outstanding Ventures is the name of one of our businesses, and that's, what we do is we each and every day we help each other be more outstanding. And I'm probably a little bit more stern than Scott is. He's a little bit too nice, but I tell him when he's being an idiot, and he can tell me too.
You're
So,
not supposed to
but
tell people that
I
in
know.
public.
We can't. It's so funny.
but I mean, having a business partner can definitely help you with productivity and
Yes.
being outstanding and getting to the next level if it's the right partner. And that partner has to have the same goals, has to have the same mindset, essentially. If not, then it's going to just be a fight, a battle, and it's just not going to
Mhm.
be fun.
Well,
Yeah.
So,
I think one way you know you have the right partners when you can tell them something like that, they're being an idiot, and they don't take offense to it. They actually internalize it and try to and think to themselves, how can I be better?
Right.
Rather than
yeah,
getting defensive about it.
right.
And even if they were
Yeah,
offended by it, they would likely think about it and then decide, you know what, he's right. I was being an idiot.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah.
Because that is what happens when you're partnered with someone that you just really are both in sync about what you're doing. Hey guys,
yeah.
Tony Ramos asked a question. Is there an understanding that today's question will be based on the discussion? No, Tony, there's really no understanding about that necessarily. It's just I know sometimes we carry on these discussions after we do the tip that we give, just so that we make it clear and it really hits home to everybody. But please feel free to ask any question that you want regarding business, okay?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, thanks for that question, Tony. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it can be anything. And Tony also says, my business partner insists that I will be a jerk when we get a little larger. I think I'm a pretty nice guy. I guess we'll see. Well, and that brings up a big concern, a big question. When you get bigger and you start making money, that can be very scary. So again,
Mhm.
it going back to making the right business partner, creating the right business partner. I know Scott will never essentially, excuse my language, screw me over. He'll never screw me over. I know that I trust him. So first of all, you have to have a business partner that trusts. So, Tony, that if your business partner insists that you'll be a jerk when you get a little larger, well, you guys might need to work on trust. And Tony says, I think I just have high standards. I agree. Trust is important. Well, thanks. So, you know, business partners, it can be joint venture partners, it can be affiliates. It all comes down to communicating and trust, and that's what's going to help you. There was something else. James said, sticking on the business partner, James Crowther says, how do I express to my business partner, fiance, that I believe she is completely distracted and getting next to no work done in the last 30 days? Well,
Give her the
I'm
replay of this
no,
call.
yeah, yeah, I'm no family therapist, but that's got to be pretty hard to talk to, if your business partner is your fiance, that's going to be a constant battle. As Kelly said, it's like me and Scott are married. Obviously, we're not. I have my beautiful wife, Lindsay, and he has his beautiful wife, Darla. But, you know, business partner is like a marriage.
Hmm.
And going back to the trust and communication, if you're scared to communicate that to her, nothing's going to change.
Hmm.
Um, as we've said before many times, if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you're getting. So you might have to, get out of your comfort zone and talk to her about that. And
And
there might be
there's been
there.
times that you've done that we've had to go have a meeting and you're like, Scott, you're totally distracted, you're not getting anything done, and I get offended a little bit, but then I come back the next day and I'm like, you know what, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had some hard times through that, but because I communicated or Scott communicated to me, even if we were a little bit offended or got on the defensive, it always ended up being a lot better.
Hmm.
So if you're holding it all in and not saying anything, it's never going to get better. So I don't know if that helps, James, but go ahead, Kelly.
Well, I just wanted to mention one other thing. I did a study actually on entrepreneur couples, and it was fascinating because the couples that did extremely well were the couples who both of them did personal development work. It was the couples who did
Hmm.
not both do personal development work. Those were the couples that didn't make it.
Hmm.
So I think, if you can get your fiance to do some personal development growth, then she'll probably appreciate whatever it is that you say to her, as well as you would appreciate what she would say to you. But you both have to get to that point of, the maturity in the personal development area. And we all have to. I work, of course, with my husband. He is my business partner. And, we've been together for 30 years, over 30 years, 33 years, really. But that's a long time to know somebody and to work with somebody. But if he was
Hmm.
not doing personal development work and I was not either, it would not work. So
James,
just a
James is asking what personal development, like what are you referring to exactly?
Oh, golly. I would suggest that you start by grabbing any book that you possibly can from Brendan Bouchard, even, books, biographies of people that have been very successful, even biographies that maybe are of couples. I know that there's a couple, what is their name? Judith Shervin and Jim Shemansky. They're a couple who've been in business for years and years and been married for a very long time, and they are psychologists. And if you want to read and learn how to do personal development work and grow in a business as entrepreneurs together, that would be a great book, or two great authors. They have a lot of books. I don't know any one specific one that would help you there, but I know there are a lot of great ones. You guys must have some ideas too about some personal development.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
Tony Robbins obviously is one of our favorites. We've
Mhm.
got all of his personal powers, all of his stuff. That's some of those have changed our lives, huh, Scott?
Yeah,
Some
I
of
was
Tony
gonna
Robbins.
say, As far as personal development, as far as a formula you can use, I gave this presentation on the very first call, and it was about those four elements that Garrett and I do when we have our strategic planning meeting, and we go on a walk and we
Yeah.
talk about our spirituality and our service together. Then we talk about our physical health and our mental health, and then our family and relationships, and then business. We go over those four areas and we rate ourselves out of 10. And as we're walking, we talk about that and we get really personal, because all those four areas are where we're trying to be outstanding personally and where we're trying to develop our talents. And when we discuss those things on that strategic planning meeting, it really builds our relationship together and helps strengthen our business. So that would
Yeah.
be my advice to you, James.
Mm.
Yeah. And James raised his hand. I didn't notice that, and so did Caroline. So I'm gonna unmute James. James, I'm gonna unmute you if you want to add anything or ask anything. You there? Oh, he doesn't have a mic. Never mind. Okay.
Mm.
I'll put your hand down. Um,
If yeah,
he typed the question. Okay,
if he
he's
can
done.
find one,
Okay.
that would be great. Hey guys, I just
Um,
wanted to just throw something out here real quick, and James, really appreciate that question because I think it's important that we all understand that it really is what it takes to get forward momentum going in your partnerships and your relationships. Lazarus asked a while back here, what did you say about Kenya because he came late?
oh, Kenya. Okay, so we're a part of an organization called World Teacher Aid with Stu McLaren and a lot of other people. Scott went last year. We donated a classroom to a school and a feeding program last year, and Scott went to Kenya. And then this year we're going again to Kenya to help these kids and build this school. We're going to be going in July, and we're going to be there for about 2 weeks. And it's Scott, you know more about it. We're going to be actually here in a couple weeks. We're going to do a call on the webinar. We're going to invite you guys to become a part of that and maybe donate and be a part of that. We're gonna be taking a lot of videos while we're there and journaling that experience. But Scott, it changed your life when you went last year, didn't it?
Yeah, you know, I think that's a lot of people's dream to make a difference in the world, and Garrett and I are fortunate to be able to do that, and and I know that Kelly's done that as well. Um, but one of the things that we do to give back is to go to Kenya and help build these schools for they're actually refugees in their own country. And what happened is about 4 years ago, there was some uh, political violence going on, and there was hundreds of thousands of people in Kenya that became refugees in their own country, and the government created these refugee camps kind of in the middle of nowhere, and these people had to live in tents, and they had hardly any food, any water, and many of them are still living in those conditions today. And so what we're trying to do there is we go to these camps and we build schools and help these kids so they have a place to go get an education. And last year we built a primary school for 600 kids, and this year we're going back. We're going to build a high school for the same group, and so we'll be able to help over 1,000 kids get an education every year. And then we also do feeding programs there so the kids have a good meal once a day, so they can learn and be good
Yeah,
students.
concentrate.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
and I
it's
think
it's
and
it's amazing.
we haven't really talked about this, Kelly, Scott, and I, but over the next couple of weeks, we'd like to do a call that we go into a little bit more detail, and Scott shares some pictures, and we'd just like to get you guys involved and be a part of this so that you guys can understand, and give back to this community. Caroline has her hand raised. Caroline, do you want me to unmute you? And just let us know if you'd like to talk. Oh, sure, she says. Okay. So, hey, Caroline.
Hi, hi.
Ha, go ahead.
Nice to finally actually talk with all three of you. and thank you for doing these webinars. As you know, I love them.
Well, good.
So
Great.
the
Appreciate you.
first of all, the Kenya project sounds amazing, and I will be, of course, more than happy to support whatever you guys are involved with. So I'm looking forward to
Awesome.
that.
Thank
So
you.
scheduling. Um, I am a VA, so I have lots of tasks that come in on a daily basis from clients, and I also have
Hmm.
tasks that are regular, such as their newsletters and things. So the way I have a number of strategies. I have a couple of like write-on wall calendars,
Hmm.
that you can wipe off. One is a full year, so I do my long-term planning for that for my business, and then I have a 1 month where I write in as these tasks come in from clients. I write in, and people could do this for their own projects. Write in. I schedule when I'm going to work on things. So I know I can just look up at my calendar when a task comes in and I can tell a client immediately when I'm able to work on this particular task. So
Cool.
that really helps me having it right in front of my face on the wall all the time. I also turn off my phone when I'm working, and
That's a
clients
great tip.
know that I do that, and they can book calls with me unless it's an emergency or something really urgent. They have to book time to talk with
Hmm.
me for our regular weekly or bi-weekly chats. So
Cool.
those are some of the strategies I use to get work done.
Great
And I
tips,
noticed you
Carolyn.
also wrote you shut down your email too.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Cool.
yeah. When
Cool.
I'm working, I turn off the phone and email, and then I have scheduled times about 4 times a day that I check messages on the phone, and also open up my email and answer anything that needs to be done. And I set time limits on things as well. I find if I don't set time limits, then preparing somebody's newsletter can take a whole day. But I know I can do it in 30 minutes if I give myself, set a timer, and for 30 minutes I can get it done.
Now,
Awesome.
Caroline
That's
is
a
giving,
great tip.
yeah, she's given some amazing tips here, guys, if you're listening, because this is one thing, the online stopwatch. If you just Google online stopwatch, you'll be able to come up with some great little stopwatches that you can put on your desktop or just have there on an open tab. And you can set your
Right.
timer, and that way you're not going to get too distracted because once the timer goes off, you know you need to move on. And what she was talking
Yep.
about with the whiteboard, boy, those whiteboards come in so handy.
Oh
My
yeah.
husband is a visual learner, and I'm an audio learner and a kinesthetic learner. And
Mhm.
so as we're sitting there with the whiteboard, I just ask him, okay, honey, what are you doing today? And he'll talk about, the 5 drives that he's got going on, or the 3 very important things that he wants to get accomplished. We also schedule out the entire week. Now, whether or not that's going to, go exactly as we planned, that's not the point. The point is we put it out there. We know what we have to do so that every day we get up, we know exactly where we're headed. And that's the important thing. Caroline, thank you so much for those.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we appreciate all your feedback and help.
Yes, thank you.
Happy to
Okay,
provide it.
I'm gonna go ahead and mute Caroline there. Um, Sandra says with a home-based business, you have to have family meeting and set parameters. Every 2 hours, take a 15-minute break, I guess is she's saying, and 4 hours take a lunch. During those periods, you can take care of some of your distractions. Perfect. Yeah, and making time for the distractions. Everybody's going to have distractions, so I like that tip by Sandra's is take, time out of your day. Say like from noon to 1, I'm going to take lunch and take care of all those distractions. That's a great tip.
Hmm.
She also says, learn to separate your business life from your personal life. My cousin and I are partners, and we have learned that what is discussed in the business doesn't carry over to personal relations. Yeah, and that can be true in some cases. I know some people that feel a little bit differently about that they think business and personal life should be not separate. So, whatever works for you, but I think those are great tips, Sandra. We appreciate that. So we're getting low on questions, guys. So keep let us know if you have anything that you're working on, that you need help with in your business or your life, something that you're struggling with, in your business or life that we can help you out with. We still have most everybody's still on the call. Um, we got Tony, Sandra, Roshana, Rocky, Margaret, Lewis, Lazarus. I mean, just keep them coming, guys.
One
There's
thing that
something. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Sorry.
Kelly.
Oh, I was just going to say one final thing about, the separation that you were talking about between work and business. When you are a couple, it is a little challenging to not talk about business. And I think part of it is because we love what we do, therefore it just comes out natural. But one thing that
Yeah,
we have set is a parameter that once you enter the bedroom, there is no discussion about business. And so if you want to talk
yeah,
business, it has to be outside of that room. So and same thing with going in and maybe sitting down watching a movie or something. I mean, obviously your mind's going to be distracted about work, but it is important, if you're going to be spending family time out in a restaurant, you go out on a date, no talking business. So we do have
yeah,
parameters set up, and it is very important to do that.
yeah. And I see where Sandra's coming from, and what Kelly just taught. That's totally true. And I guess when you're with family, you're partnered with family, that's a little bit harder
Mhm.
because, with me and Scott, we both get to go to our separate homes and we can be away from it. So we get that luxury of being away from each other. But I can totally see if you're with family that you definitely need to set those parameters. So thanks.
Mhm.
Jenny Wilson says, I'm learning that working at home means I'm always working. It's hard to walk away because there are always little things I can do. Jenny, I went through that. Scott, I know, did
I
too, and
went through it too.
Kelly, I think, is in that situation right now. I
I
think you work
am.
at
Yep,
home, Kelly. You have a home office.
I do.
Um, the here's I'll let Kelly and Scott talk, but from my experience, working at home was so hard because like you're saying, Jenny, I could never go home. I could never, I just never went home because I was always on my mind. It seemed like I was always working, and so for me, the best thing that ever happened was partnering with Scott and going to the office, our downtown office. So I'm not saying that you have to go and get an office, but what I would suggest for people is to get an office, and if you can't do that, then create a separate room in your house that is only for business, and then you shut the door, lock the door if you have to, and you don't go into that unless you're working on business, and you set those parameters and set those times when you are going to be working. So if you do have to do it at home, you have a separate office that's for your business. It's not in your room. It's not, and some of you might have one single room apartments where that's not going to work. Well, you're gonna have to figure that out. And there are some another suggestion, quick, and I'll let Kelly and Scott. There are some new buildings or office buildings being built where they're called, oh shoot, I can't remember the name. They're like micro offices or whatever, where you pay a monthly, small monthly fee, and you can go and use their internet and use their office building. Again, if you're in a rural area, that's not going to work, but those are just some ideas. But for me, having a business at home just didn't work. I had to get away and go to the office. Kelly, Scott?
Scott, go ahead.
My experience was similar to Garrett's. My wife would always want me to do something right in the middle of when I was working. She didn't understand that I had to get things done in order to make money, and so that was probably the biggest thing for me. It was um, she always wanted me to do stuff, and it just distracted me constantly. So yeah, you just got to make, like Garrett said, you've got to make sure you prioritize your time, set up a special area where that's where you work. Nobody else can come in, um, things like that.
Well, in my
Yeah, Mark.
situation, it's a little different only because I do have a large office. I love it. When we're in there, we're working so hard. When we walk out of there, it's time to visit, it's time to eat dinner, it's time to play, it's time to have fun. So I don't know what it is. It's just like this mental matrix or something that we step through the door, at least for me. Now, if my husband was on this call, he may jump in and chime in something different. And I think I'm going to ask him out through after we get off the call how he feels about that. But I know for me, I love having my office in my home, which is why I have it. I could go out and get an office outside somewhere, but I really don't want to. I love being here. So I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just, a preference.
It definitely
Yeah,
is preference, and it's definitely what's going to make you more productive.
Right.
Scott, you said something.
no, I agree. It's preference. I know other people that love working at home too.
Yeah, and Margaret Reese says, I have found it easier to get even a very small office away from home than to enforce rules with the children that they must leave me alone. See, and so that's her preference, just like me and Scott. We prefer having a small office, and we've got employees and stuff too that we don't want them coming to our house. you know. So there's those dynamics as well. Rocky Ryan says, I too work from home, but unless it's an emergency, weekends are for me, myself, and I and my husband. So there you go. I mean, um, it's
Yep.
just you're gonna have to figure out what works for you, and figure out and create those parameters, create that mindset that when you're at work, and when you're not, that you take time away, and going back to what Kelly talked about today, and giving that time for yourself. um, Lazarus says, thanks guys, I'm so happy about that. I'm actually from Kenya. Oh, cool.
Yeah, I figured you
From
Wow.
probably
Kenya.
was to ask that question.
And I yeah, and I came to America when post-elections violence were going on, and it was very hard for us. That's why I'm trying
Mm,
to help my sister who was a victim. Thanks a lot. Cool. Well,
mm.
thanks for sharing that, Lazarus. That's
Yeah,
awesome. I'm
well,
glad that
sorry for having to go
everything.
through all that too. I can't imagine. It must have been extremely difficult and challenging, but we are glad that you are here and doing all you can, to make things work for you too.
And
Carolyn,
hopefully you know that we're doing what we can to help your people.
yeah,
So
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Kelly.
Caroline mentioned that negative consequences for not getting projects done, that some people may respond better with rewarding themselves when they cross off a task from their list. Yes, absolutely. I think that's a very
Yeah.
valid point. There are people who would respond better to more positive, things like that. So that's good.
there's it's funny that she says that because David Fry, when I was in Kenya last year, actually, he was talking about how there's websites that you can go and you can basically bet against yourself to finish a project. So you can
Mhm.
you can like put $1,000 to say I'm going to finish this project by this time, or this $1,000 goes to an organization that I hate.
Mm-hmm.
and,
Yep.
and so you actually have to get the project
Yeah.
done, or else the money goes to like some you know the NRA, or I don't know, like depends on what
Now, Scott.
what organization you don't like, but
Yeah.
Or like
or
Caroline's
Obama.
saying, though, is
Hey, Garrett, hang on one second, Garrett. You're breaking up pretty bad.
oh, okay.
I'm not sure what happened there. Okay, try it again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Ooh, nope.
No. Okay, go ahead. You guys.
Um, well, there is a separate topic actually that came in, and that was from Tony, and he was saying about funny versus rich content. What is an appropriate ratio for social media and blog entries? Funny versus rich content. What is an appropriate ratio for social media and blog entries? I'm not sure that there's really a social appropriate ratio for this. There could be, but if your personality, Tony, is funny and fun, I think anybody is attracted to funny and fun. Now, there's a silly side that you may not want to reach, because if you get too silly, then you're going to turn people off. But rich content can also be funny content at the same time, and you can employ both in one blog post, as well as the social media posts that you do. I think a good blend of it is an excellent idea. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I have a thought. If you are genuinely funny, I think that can actually help you a lot. Because some people are just, they have certain characteristics that, like if comedy is your thing, and people are really attracted to that, you can actually leverage that to be successful in your business if you use your personality as part of your business image. So if you can pull it off, then I think it's definitely worth doing. If you can't, if you're not genuinely funny and you're trying to be funny, that can actually hurt you because people can see through it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not a very funny person, and I really wish that I had more of a funny personality. my, My husband he can be hilarious sometimes. And I sit there and shake my head and I'm like, why wasn't I born with a great sense of humor? It would be so fun to have a great sense of humor. But I have to be me. And if I get a little too serious sometimes, I certainly don't intend to. But I do think that I have a deeper heart than what most people do. But I love being around funny people because I love to laugh. So I guess it just gives me a better sense of appreciation. So Tony, if you're funny, go for it. I think it's
Yeah.
great to put your personality in there.
Can you guys hear me now?
It's still a little bit choppy. We can hear you. It's just choppy.
Is it? Hmm.
Yeah. But I liked what you said there, Kelly. Just be you.
Yeah.
I think that's really the key. Just try to be who you are, and I think people will be attracted to that naturally because we all have our own personality, and if we're honest and we're transparent, that'll come out, and people will just be attracted to that.
Tony, you are funny. I can tell. First he says, know thyself. Then he says, National Ruffians Association, right? It's an industry and product specific. Yeah. I don't know about that, but then Jenny was asking, maybe you covered this earlier. I was late, but if not, I'm wondering how far in advance you plan projects. For example, 3 to 5 projects per year. Oh boy, we just had this long conversation about that. Scott, do you want to broach that one first?
Well, I think it has to do with the size of the projects,
Right.
for one. Um, if they're really big projects, like new company size projects, you don't want to have too many of those. Otherwise, you won't get anything done. Yeah, we had this discussion about having too many projects at once, trying to make something stick to the wall. Um, you want to try to keep it to a minimum at any given time, unless you're an incredibly good organizer like Caroline. um, but it's easy to get distracted and have too many things and not actually do anything. And so our advice is to try to keep the smallest number of big projects in play as possible. Try to focus on one big project if you can. Um, that, or one or two at the most. Garrett and I can focus on two or three at a time because we have systems in place, we have staff in place, and we have each other, so we can both do a project. But
Mhm.
if you're running it on your own, uh, it's difficult to run more than one even, and get something done significantly. I don't know. What do you think, Kelly?
Yeah, I agree with you, Scott. Jenny, it does come down to how many people you have helping you sometimes. I know for myself, I have virtual assistants, I have a team of webmasters, I have a lot of people that I contract, so they're not in-house. But with that said, I can do at least 3 projects a year. So if I'm looking at 2013, which I was looking at 2013 last night, in fact, and how I want to, project out what it is that I would like to do as far as launches go. So, when you think about it in terms of that, just maybe coming down to the size, like Scott was saying, the size of the project. I just got done for me, it was a huge launch. And that was so time consuming and it took several months in advance of planning. So, you need to have the right people in place. You need to have every little marker and milestone accomplished. So it just does depend on the project, but I would say no more than 3 large ones a year. That would be my guess. Or my
Yeah.
Yeah.
guess.
You guys, am I still
Oh,
No, you
better.
sound better now.
okay? To add to that, Jenny, you know, you might have 3 to 5 projects a year, but focus on one at a time. Don't try and start them all at the same time. Focus on one and get one done, and then go to the next one. So I think
Yeah.
there's that the difference to that question too of yes, you could have 10 projects that whole year, but don't try and do all 10 at the same time. That would be our I think our biggest tip is trying to do too much at the same time. What happens is if you've got 3 projects going at the same time and you're trying to do them all by yourself or you just don't have enough resources, then what happens is none of them get done, or some of them get done but they're just not very good.
Mhm.
So that would be my suggestion to that. Tony says, do you have any tips on getting noticed in a crowded, not saturated marketplace with a uniquely different product? Wow, that's a we could go on for hours about that. I
Yeah.
think, and you, Tony, you might want to go back through our replays if you haven't seen those. Um, I think a couple weeks ago, and you can get to those replays by going to YouTube and just searching for our Outstanding Ventures channel, and you'll see all the replays. We've got 5 up. We've talked a lot about, I think in about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we talked a lot about this, how to getting noticed. The biggest thing that I think we've learned is, first of all, you've got to get traffic to even get noticed. But when you do get that traffic, you've got to be talking directly to your market. And if you're not talking directly to your market, and last week's, actually, you probably should watch last week's replay. Episode 5 was really good, where we went into, really talking to your target market, using words and sales copy and ad copy and all that to capture their attention, attract them to you, and then once you do that, they're going to buy because you're talking directly to them. So knowing your market and then knowing how to talk to them is a craft that we would suggest that you learn. It's a craft that I think we're all continuously trying to figure out. But definitely um, look on YouTube, Tony. Just go to youtube.com and search Outstanding Ventures. Um,
Can I ask a
and we
question, Garrett? Are they not titled Business Fundamental Fridays or no?
Well, Outstanding Ventures is the name of our channel, so you could also search Business Fundamental Fridays.
Yeah, that might be easier for them.
Yeah, that might get you to them as well. Um, so
You
just
know,
search on YouTube. You should be getting our emails, and we wanted to bring this up. Everybody is, um, I if you're not getting our emails or the emails from GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting, or the emails from us on, because you guys are on our email list if you signed up, um, then you're going to want to check your junk folders or whitelist or the email address, which is support at outstandingventures.com, because you guys should be getting those emails. And if you're not, Tony says that he just joined the community yesterday. So yeah, Tony, you would not have received those. So that's
right.
cool. But you will start getting those. So just, you guys probably want to check your spam. Make sure you whitelist us in your email client so that you are getting those emails. Another good way of getting information and getting updates on the replays and everything is going to Facebook and um, going to our Facebook group. And Kelly, I don't know if that's up on the screen.
Actually, I think, do we, Garrett, do we have to add them to the group on that, or is it something that they can actually?
Well, no, they go and they ask to join, so they have to join, and then we add them.
Okay, so then that's what we need to have them do. So
Yes.
yeah, all we was saying was just to go to the Facebook and groups and then just search Business Fundamental Fridays. But if we have to add them, then they should probably just let us know here that they would like to be added. Can we
Well,
do that?
no, 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 no. I don't know how to do that because I don't know. You have to go there to the Facebook group, and then you have to click like ask to join or
Oh,
join.
gotcha.
And then once they do that, we see them pop up in our admin panel and we add them.
I see. My
Yeah,
apologies. I didn't realize that it was set up that way. Okay.
yeah.
Um,
So that's a good way to get information. Caroline shared here's the link. I don't think everybody sees that, but we'll put the link. Here's the link, everybody, in the chat area. That's the link to go join.
There, one thing that I think we need to apologize to Jenny, who had actually put up her website in the Facebook forum that she wanted us to take a look here and talk to her. Jenny, are you still on the call? Because you had asked us about the green website, the fair trade. She wanted us to take a look at this and see if this is more what we were thinking about, because she had changed her banner.
Yeah,
And
I don't think she's on the call anymore. I think it's the Jenny with the G, right?
it is correct.
Jenny with the G. She's not on anymore, so we'll have to
Oh,
do
that's
that
too bad. Okay. Well,
next
yeah,
week.
we'll make sure that we get that done.
Okay.
Well,
Let's see. So, anyways, back to Tony. you know, getting noticed in a crowded marketplace is figuring out how to talk to your market and doing that with blog posts, ads, whatever it is, whatever media that you're trying to get to them with, you have to be talking directly to them. And last week we talked a lot about problems and solutions. So you need to figure out the problem that your market has and then give them solutions because that's what they're looking for.
Well, he should also listen to your presentation about your website being an island,
Yeah.
because you talk about forums and things and
Yeah,
different
different
ways,
ways.
different strategies to get traffic.
Yeah. And Caroline says Tony needs to figure out his unique selling proposition. Exactly. And
Yeah.
you figure out your unique selling proposition, what makes you unique, what makes your product unique. You figure that out by um, knowing your market. You really do. You can't because if you put up your unique selling proposition, my unique selling proposition is that I can jump 10 times faster now because of this. Well, if your market doesn't care about jumping 10 times faster, then that unique selling proposition might not be talking to that market. So again, it all goes back to that research, and we can't say this enough, is researching your market, knowing what they want and what they need and how to talk to them, and then creating a unique selling proposition around that. So thanks for that question, Tony. Those replays will definitely help.
There's
Um,
one thing to add to that, guys, and that is sometimes people don't know where to, if they don't have a list, they think, okay, well, how do I talk to my market? Where do I go to find them? And that's what we were
yeah.
talking about early on about the forums. You've got to be able to get on places like, LinkedIn. If, for instance, if you're talking to entrepreneurs, you're going to find a lot of entrepreneurs on LinkedIn. You're going to find a lot of entrepreneurs on Twitter and Facebook. So really, find where they are and then you'll be able to ask them those questions.
Yeah. Well, and the other tip that I've given before a couple times is, uh, the forums definitely and social media and all that. But one thing that I've done in the past that I thought was really great that helped me find out what my market wanted is I went to Google AdWords and I started focusing on the keywords that I thought my market was searching for and different areas where my ads would show up. And then I started trying different headlines and different things and those unique selling propositions, trying to talk to that market and seeing which one got clicked on the most. So yeah, you're going to have to spend a little bit of money doing that, but you can spend 50 to 100 bucks and really get some really good information. And then when they do click on it, so this is twofold, you're going to see which ad is getting clicked on more. So you create 4 to 5 different ads, see what's getting clicked on more, and then when they do click on it, send them to a survey. Okay, and that survey asks them more questions to help really get deeper into what they want and what they need.
Mm-hmm.
So that I think that tip might help some of you. Lazarus says, you are welcome. Do you think this software thing to drive traffic works? Because I really want to buy one. If for sure I can make $1,000 a day, I'm ready to risk. Um, Lazarus, it depends on what you're talking about, definitely. And off the bat, I would say beware, because if there's anything push button that says it's going to send you lots of traffic and it's going to make you money, it's probably not going to. I'm not saying I can't prove that, but from our experience, and I'm guessing Kelly has had the same
Mm-hmm.
thing, those push button get tons of traffic, make money. If there's not any effort put into it, then it's more than likely not going to work. And if it does work, it's only going to work for a short amount of time and it's not going to work in the long run. So we would definitely, I think Kelly and Scott would agree, is say shy away from that stuff and
Mm-hmm.
focus on things that are long term and that are really going to help your business grow and that are going to take some effort. Because if I've learned anything in my life, it takes a lot of hard work. And that's not
Yeah.
what people want to hear. That's definitely not what I want to hear, but
Mm-hmm.
it takes a lot of hard work. So guys, anything else you have
No, I
on
agree
that?
100%. Yep.
Yeah, I would agree too. There's no shortcuts. If people can push a button and make $1,000 a day, then why are we having this call?
Yeah, and
Right?
well, and there might be, and it might work, but what I guess what we're saying, Lazarus, is it's only going to work for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and then what? That's just short term. If it does work, which it rarely does, but if it does, it's not long term.
And that may
I
be
would
his goal,
go
perhaps
go ahead.
that could be perhaps his goal if he does want a short term. And,
Yeah,
if
it could.
that's what you're looking for, then by all means, test it out, see what happens. But if you do want
Right.
something long term that's going to sustain, then yeah, you'll definitely want to be cautious about that.
I would make sure if you're going to do it, Lazarus, to make sure they have a good guarantee and make sure that you can contact them before you buy it so that in case it doesn't work out, you can contact them and get your money back.
Yeah. And Tony says, let us know if it works. I think we'd all be interested. Well, definitely. I mean, we all want more traffic. Most of us all want to make more profit. That's just what business is about. And if there's something that works, then we want to know about it. But it's got to be affordable and it's got to make sense with the long term. Um, Margaret says, I think it's also a matter of patience. People try to sell the idea of starting an online business can be done quickly. I don't think this is true. I totally agree with that,
Yeah,
Margaret.
definitely.
Building an online business, building any business takes time, takes effort. And again, that's not what we want. We're especially entrepreneurs and small business owners, we're not patient, most of us. But it takes patience, as Margaret's saying, and it just next week I'm going to be talking about technology and how to use technology and I'm going to be talking a lot about that. Is people worry so much about technology and having the best things. Well, it's not always the best thing. It's how you use those things. So thanks for that, Margaret. Well, I think we're kind of winding down on questions. We've been here for a while. We appreciate you all, those that have stayed on. We love having you here. We just want to remind you all about the next Business Fundamental Fridays webinar next Friday, June 29th at 1 p.m. As always, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to be talking about technology changes. Does everyone or challenges? Sorry, technology challenges. Does everyone have them? Be sure to get on the Facebook group, and we sent that out. And tell your friends, okay? And we're going to be coming up with some ways that you guys can share this easier with your friends. But tell your friends. Jenny says, grateful for all your great advice. Thanks to you all. Thank you, Jenny, for being here. Lazarus, thanks, people. I almost did it. Okay. I guess he means he almost bought that. Tony, I guess I have to get my dentist appointment rescheduled. Yes, you do, Tony. Be here at 1 p.m. Be here at 1 p.m. We appreciate you all, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Yeah, have a great week.